Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. All right, we're talking about little hinges this whole week. I think little hinges are one of the most remarkable things when you think about it, how something so small can have such an impactful way of moving the needle in your life in every way that you can possibly fathom. And I was thinking about all the big ones, the things that were little things that have made such an impact. I'm just using my own life because, this is the only life I've ordered. This is it. This is the only one I've ordered. This is the only one I've got, So using my life, I'm going to tell you what I found to help, because I know what it feels like to be feeling completely frustrated. I know what it feels like to think that everybody else is getting it. Why am I not? I know what it feels like to feel like life is passing me by and I still don't have my act together. What is up with that? And it's when I made an absolute concerted effort to really put, my hand down on the thing. I put my hand down on the weight and said, hold on a minute here. So, the fulcrum, right? You have a fulcrum on one side, it's like a seesaw, right? It's a seesaw up and down and up and down. And I just felt like all the time I was up or I was down. There was no middle ground, really. And what I found was learning a few techniques helped to even things out such a huge amount. Taking a few supplements, even things out a huge amount. These little things are the hinges that open great big doors to the best vibrant life you could possibly hope to live. It's the truth. And that's why we're talking about this today. And you know what my biggest one was? I would think one of the biggest ones. And, yesterday we talked about just a bunch of random, what little hinges are and how they can impact you from making your bed to, whatever. But today I'm going to get very specific and talk about gratitude. Now, it's not like you have never heard about gratitude. And you're going, yeah, but gratitude, whatever. But I went in and did a couple of sciencey thingies and took a little sneaky peeky at some research has been done about how gratitude does completely remodel your brain. Not only does it remodel your brain, it remodels the way you think. It remodels so many different things. And let me just say that as I looked at this, I thought about how easy it is to get sucked into the complaining. And, and it just occurred to me, and this is probably, a few years ago, but what is the news anyway? First of all, the news is no longer Walter Cronkite just saying, here's the facts. It's everybody having an axe to grind on the news, right? Everybody does. It depends on what channel you turn it to, but I'm telling you, they all have an axe to grind. And when they get on there, they're complaining about someone else, aren't they? And they might be smart and witty and they have a way of delivering it or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's complaining. It's complaining. And it's suffering, it's succotash kind of a thing. And it just, gratitude blows raspberry, whatever. Yeah, it's just true. I see these guys and I'm just like, nah, y'all can get in a room and tear each other apart. I'm not going to play ball with you because I feel like afterwards I feel dirty. I need a shower. I suffer from listening to that kind of stuff. And, it's getting sucked into the same old toxic thoughts, the same old thought patterns, the same old everything. That's what the news is today. That is. And you guys know it. You've seen it. But when we, opt out of things that are dirty and toxic and just don't feel good, and we start focusing on the things that do feel good, we actually remodel our brain. It's so true. We remodel our brains. Can you imagine? So here's the thing. The other thing that happens is that gratitude opens your heart. Your heart isn't opened if you have ingratitude. It's not open. It's slammed shut. You're not looking for opportunities to find things to be grateful for, but instead you're stuck in this one place. There's so much to complain about, and there's lists of things to talk about, and you can't trust anybody, and everybody is horrible, and blah, 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 blah. Are you exhausted yet? Didn't that just throw you down and just say, I don't want that. Yuck. I hope not. Because gratitude really opens your hearts. It helps you to see the possibilities of what could possibly be. You don't get to see that when you're stuck in your own limitations. Gratitude opens up to the possibility that there may be an answer to that problem, that there could be a solution, that there is a possibility to this impossibility. That's what gratitude does. It helps you to see the solutions as well, not so much the problems. Because you have a grateful heart, you become creative. This adds to the creativity because you're seeing things in a whole new light. You're looking and you're seeing, instead of seeing, like yesterday, I saw there's a great big huge mushroom that's sitting on our stairs on the way down to the park, to the lake, the berm where I take the dog to go swimming. And you know what? I saw that mushroom in a whole different light. And first I was like looking at the mushroom thinking, why is that mushroom there? And then I thought, ooh, I can't wait to see it up close and personal. I bet it's really beautiful. I wonder if it's a chanterelle, blah, blah, blah. And I started thinking about the mushroom instead of, we had just power washed all of those stairs and thinking there's a mushroom and somebody tried to eat it. It was some kind of a bear or something. I started thinking about how cool the mushroom was. And I hadn't even gotten up close and seen it. That's from having gratitude for a little outside action and nature and what have you. Every day when I go out, I see snakes, and I'm not a snake fan, let me just tell you, but I learned about what they are. I was able to identify them. So I've seen a bunch of snakes and, now I just say hello to the snakes. I have gratitude for the snakes because they're eating all the vermin, right? How do you like that? We have to start from someplace. And this is the way that we do it. We see the empathy and we see the grace instead of the put downs and the impatience. That's what gratitude does for you. The put downs and the impatience. Have you seen that? Have you ever seen a mother in a store? One of the things that have just broken my heart, where she's really impatient with her child and you just want to say, hey, mama, hey, mama, can I help you? And when we lived in Boulder, I was in a Target parking lot and there was this mom. She had 2 kids, my kids' ages, they were just one after the other, right? The same, both car seats, double everything. And I remember she was like in the middle of ready to have a breakdown. And I just went over and I held her cart for her. You don't offer to hold people's children and strangers anymore with all the garbage we've got going on. I held her cart for her. I said, go ahead. I'll hold your cart. Go ahead and get the kids in the car and I'll just take care of this for you. And the gratitude she had was just ridiculous, because somebody just took a minute. I had a cart full of stuff too, but I sure as heck didn't have 2 little kids who were just losing it right there in the parking lot. How can we do this for each other? When we do things like this for each other, we're offering the gratitude that we have that we're able to do it and giving them that little gift and the gratitude that comes back. Do you see how this all works? How this all feeds itself into this beautiful cycle that we can do this? It does. Absolutely. Sarah says practicing gratitude changes our automatic response. It does. It is 100%. I think it's the automic response, isn't it? But it changes everything. It rewires your brain. You see things in a whole different light. You see people in a whole different light. You see what their need is in a whole different light. When you see a homeless person, you don't think, go out and get a job, or he's probably on drugs. I'm not going to do anything. You think, you know what? Here's some money, and you have faith that that money is going to go to feed him or her or help them out. Now, it could go to drugs, but you know what? You're being obedient in your heart to be helpful and to be loving and maybe say something kind. That's gratitude out of your great abundance, which, you know, we have more abundance than they do. I just see empathy building and creating more of a love fest than the hate fest that we currently have going on in the world right now. So when we do this, you know, when we have this, when we see the possibilities instead of limitations and the solutions instead of the problems and the empathy and grace instead of the put downs and the impatience, we are building a bank of gratitude for the goodness that's in our own lives, for how good we have it, for how blessed we've been. And you know what? It blesses everyone around us because it emanates from a grateful heart. It emanates out of us. People will see it in you. They will. And you know what? It doesn't just feed them. It feeds yourself too, because you feel a little bit better about who you are. It feels a lot better. It feels a lot better to be loving. It feels a lot better to not be judgy all the time. Do we need to do that? Do you think homeless people are just sitting there? You know, they've got a story. They've got a family. There's so much we don't know about it. If we change our ideas and change our minds and change the way that we can impact them, then it's going to change the way we are. We're going to have a whole lot more room in our heart and a whole lot more love and care for somebody that we don't know. These people are just merely strangers, you know, with a challenging living situation. So gratitude is like honey to bees. You know that? It's like honey. It attracts us. And the more you do it, the more attractive people want to buzz into your world. Have you noticed that? Do you like that? Buzz? That was a little pun. Sarah said the gratitude bank is always in the black. It never runs out. The more you transfer out, the more the balance grows. It's a feeding of itself. It constantly feeds itself. And you surprise yourself on just how much more you have to give when you're in that place of gratitude. Not only do you feel better, but this is what psychologists says, and this is the studies. You're more positive. You feel less pain. How about that? You feel less pain. That's because you're producing oxytocin, which reduces pain. That's one of the feel-good hormones. That's why you feel less pain. You're more appreciative, more deliberate in being in the moment and smelling the roses. What about that? More appreciative of being in the moment because that's all we have, right? If that's all we have and we can have gratitude for that, that's a needle mover. So gratitude also energizes, elevates your mood, inspires, and 100% transforms you and your brain. 100%. It's you and your brain. And get this, we're told in the good book, in the Old Testament alone, 72 times to give thanks. 72 times. The New Testament, 71 times. That's a lot of give thanks, isn't it? Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Focus on something else besides poor little old you. You know, when we get frustrated and everything, we think that it's just like everything sucks. Our lives suck. We suck. This sucks. That sucks. It all sucks. Or we could do a raspberry, whatever you want to do. But the fact is, we're told, commanded even, to give thanks. And I know that it has to do with God. I know it has to do with, the whole of scriptures. I know that this has a lot to do with who God is. But I believe that God did this so that he would change the way that we show up in the world as well. I believe that it's the polite and right thing to do so. Yes, give thanks. But this is how we show up in the world. This is how we show up for others. This is how we show up for people that we work with or work for or whatever. This is how we show up for our purpose. We can't show up for our purpose, and our purpose will not make itself known if we have a hardened heart. And that's what a hardened heart is. It's full of ingratitude. It pushes away, it shoves away, and it doesn't keep us close to the things that we want. It doesn't develop relationships. It doesn't cause us to feel love and empathy for the homeless, for example. It doesn't cause any of that. There is none of that. It can't exist. With ingratitude comes a whole lot of hardness. So I say that gratitude is how vibrancy begins to show up in your life. That's just it. It's not until then that you start to connect the dots, because you didn't even know that vibrancy was an option, right? I mean, that's part of it. So we know that that we get oxytocin from this. This is you get oxytocin from sex and hugs and giving birth. These are things that pop through your system, but it is a feel good hormone, and it helps to lessen the pain and what have you. This is how oxytocin comes out into your system. Also serotonin and dopamine, which we can get that as well from exercise. But it leaves physiological, changes in your body, in your brain. How about that? I love it. So a study at Harvard says that gratitude is strongly and consistently associated with stronger happiness. How could you not want to start practicing gratitude? Now, gratitude is a practice, like meditation is a practice, like dentists have practice. What does that mean? It's done daily. It's done daily. It's done on a regular basis, because we have to practice gratitude, because at first we're not very good at it. We're like, man, thanks for the hot water. And so, whatever. Gratitude. At first it's not great. But it takes a minute to start seeing and to start looking and to start being in the milieu, if you will, of gratitude. That's where I want to stand. That's where I want to dip my little toe. I don't want to be over here in this hardened heart place of ingratitude and complaining and all of that garbage. Positive emotions, improved health, better equipped to deal with adversity. Get that. Disappointment, and have stronger and better relationships. That's what the Harvard study says. This is a scientific research study done to show how gratitude can do all of this. And yet, and please, I'm not putting anyone down here. What do? We go to the doctor. I don't feel good. I'm not feeling good about myself. Here's a prescription. Well, maybe our prescription needs to be first gratitude. Maybe our prescription needs to be a practice of gratitude and staying in the moment and staying focused on the things that we do have and the things that we can start being grateful for, and speaking about our gratitude and being appreciative for in our relationships as well, and being really doing diligently every single day. I shared when we did our Take Back Your Life journal that one of my goals, and I wrote it right here, because you have a spiritual, intellectual, and emotional goal, basically relationship stuff. And I put that I'm an active reader and I invest my heart, mind, and soul in my relationships. I write this down every day. What do you think that causes me to do? That causes me every single day to give an appreciative comment to Mark. I'll say something nice, even if he ticks me off. I'm going to find something nice to say and with gratitude to say about him. With my children, I'm going to send them just a sweet little text or a funny little meme or whatever. I'm not going to talk to them every day, but in the weeds on a daily basis, purposely, because I want those relationships to flourish. Because I had noticed days and even a couple, sometimes weeks had gone by. What the heck? We all got busy. And we get busy and we forget. I don't want to forget about my children. I don't want to forget about my relationships. These are the top of the mind. These are the big stones that go into the jar first. But they don't if you don't have a practice to go with it. And gratitude for these relationships, what do you think that's going to do? How do you think that's going to make them feel? And how are you going to feel? And how are you going to connect? Well, Harvard's telling me it's going to work. Because your brain structurally changes when we do things like this. You get new rewiring. Get this. So think about a house that needs rewiring. I was thinking about this today. And we were, Caroline and I have been online looking at houses all over the place here. And she found this one old house. She loves old houses. I was the same way when I was her age. And she said, oh, this is the one, blah, blah, blah. And it had tube. You could see the old tube and knob wiring. I was like, honey, that's got to be rewired. That's huge mess. That's a fire hazard. You got to do blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but I was thinking about that and the fire hazard and all that. That's our brains when they aren't rewired to gratitude. We've got old, outdated stuff in there, and it could be an actual fire hazard in that. Not that your brain's going to go up in fire, but in that, you could be explosive, and you could be saying things you'll regret later, and you could be going down a toxic path of all this negativity. That's what happens when we don't have gratitude in place. See how big this is? It's huge. So if we know that gratitude is going to rewire our brain, you want to hear something that the others on the opposite side? Complaining also rewires your brain. Complaining does. Daily complaining is going to rewire your brain. It's going to cause your hippocampus, which is this big part of your brain, to shrink. That means your memories, all the good stuff you're going to forget about. Your memories shrink, your ability to function and to problem solve, your ability to cope with adversity, all of that. So you wonder, if you've had a lifetime of this complaining and you just cannot cope with things, that's literally brain damage, y'all. That is literally brain damage. And the other part of the study said that it also makes you dumber. You lose actual IQ points from being a complainer, because you've narrowed your world into the small little myopic space in a corner, and you can't see the possibilities. You can't add in the creativity. You can't look for the what ifs and can you imagines, because complaining is too much in the way. Complaining is a huge obstacle. So even listening to it or participating in it is going to do the same thing. So if you think you're free because you're not the complainer, but you're sitting there listening to it, it's going to affect you just as much. I think that's showing us that we have tender hearts at the baseline of who we are. Do you remember that song, Create in Me a New Heart? David's cry to God, create in me a new heart. His heart had gotten so hardened. This is after he was caught with Bathsheba and he realized the criminality of the sin he had committed, and he just asked God to wash him clean. This is where we have been given hearts that can be clean. We've been given hearts that can be tender, but they can't be tender and they can't be of use when they're hardened with ingratitude. That's how that is. So I have 5 things for you to create a gratitude practice of, especially if you see yourself in this. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now. If you see yourself in this, that's your wake-up call. Okay? That's not me saying you're a terrible person and blah, blah, blah. I'm not. I'm just calling you out and saying, hey, do you want vibrancy in your life? Do you want this little hinge to swing open the door to that type of a life? Then please listen, because gratitude is going to be such a needle mover for you. I promise you, especially if complaining has become sort of a way of life. So number 1, how do we do this? Well, in our Take Back Your Life journal, we start with gratitude, right? Look at that right at the very beginning. Today I'm grateful for, and you've got 3 things to write down. We obviously have a lot more to write down every single day than just 3 things, but we got to start somewhere. And just starting with 3 things brings you to a place of being grateful, of thinking about it. And then the rest of it will come as you do your day. I've seen that. It works. So number 2 is, if you have a great big complaining problem and you're just saying, oh my gosh, she's like talking about me, I complain all the time, then maybe you need a gratitude journal. And that would be something along these lines of getting yourself one of these little, cheapy Dollar General type, composition books, and spending some time writing out gratitude. not just 3 things, but just writing it out and just getting yourself in the place of gratitude. It might take that. And that's fine. I mean, what a cool thing. I did it. I had to do it because I was spending a whole heck of a lot of time in a place of ingratitude. Try a gratitude. Now, for those of you, there's people who are going to do prayer before every meal, and giving thanks. But you can also do just saying, if you're not religious or this isn't your cup of tea, you can also just say, I'm so grateful for this beautiful meal and for you, darling, who cooked it tonight. These are things that we can think. It's an acknowledgement of how wonderful of that they gave to you and you are receiving back, right? Number 4, watch your language. I mean, watch what you say. Oh, it'll never happen, or it's blah, blah. When we go into this whole thing, it usually starts the barrage of complaints. And to that end, it puts us in a place of feeling like nothing's ever going to really work out, And when we have an attitude of gratitude and we understand that life is working out for us, and that as we start to focus on that, then we were going to start to see things shift because our perspective changes. I mean, it's so true. Our perspective changes and suddenly we're going to start seeing things like the mushroom sitting down there. Instead of saying, oh, there's a big mess down there. Now I'm seeing this lovely mushroom. Where did it come from? What's it about? Can I identify it? I'm grateful for that. Tricia said, I'm grateful to have you give us that loving kick in the pants that we all need. Aw, that's sweet. That's sweet. Yes, the full bloom mug. You betcha. So number 5, use your tools, for heaven's sakes. We've made vision boards. Use your vision board and use your vision board to visualize and see what you want your life to look like. I do my vision boards with pictures and words that light me up. Everything that goes on my vision board lights me up. What's on yours? And I found things that are on my vision board seem to come to fruition. Funny how that is. And I'm not sitting there looking at the vision board saying, okay, come to me. It's just sitting there in a room. It's sitting over there on my desk, on the side desk here. That's how vision boards work. That's how quote decks work. That's how your mindful mug works. It's how your journal works. All of it works because it puts you in the place of being present with what is and what you want. And suddenly, we don't need to know how to do this as much as it just sort of comes together. Have you noticed that? I've noticed that so much. It's amazing. But use your tools. Set up a beautiful environment that's supportive, that encourages you, that gives you an opportunity to always be grateful. That gratitude is going to completely change absolutely everything. Number 6, why? Why do you want vibrancy? Seriously. Gratitude is the way, I'll tell you that. But I don't know a single solitary soul who doesn't want vibrancy in their life. So when you get to the why do I want this? I want to show up. I want to be a better parent. I want to be a better mom. I want to be a better, caregiver to my elderly dad. I want to show up and be a better boss on the job, or be a better employee, or I want to be better with my neighbors, with my spouse, with everything that I touch. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, talk about a lovely, beautiful goal. Can you imagine if we all did that? Can you imagine if we all decided to just dispense of the complaining and really begin in earnest a practice of gratitude? Can you imagine the vibrational level of the whole place would be fireballs. Yeah, that's so true. Never ever have I been successful when my why comes from a place of shame. It is so true. Because shame doesn't do anything, Shame is just ducking its head and basically, sucking it all in and believing a bunch of lies about yourself. If you're here on purpose. If you're here for purpose. And that's why you're breathing air right at this very moment in time. That's why. And you get to find out what that is, and you will find out what that is if you commit yourself to being full of gratitude, because gratitude will point the way. So how you see things, how you see things is a direct correlation to how much you fill your cup with gratitude. It truly is. And that doesn't, because we need to be thankful for everything that we have right now. It doesn't mean that we can't want change. It doesn't mean that whatever. I've shared with you 100 times the story of going into the Lane Bryant store and buying clothes that actually fit me at the time. It wasn't until I got to that place of gratitude for then that I could move on to now. That's how it works. Gratitude for every little thing. Why not? Right. The other option, it doesn't work. So Shakespeare called ingratitude, are you ready for this? The vilest of weeds that grows. And I have to say that there's just nothing more, vile than a weed, right? Think poison ivy, think the vilest of weeds. That's what ingratitude is. So here it is. Here's the wrap, y'all. If we want to live our lives in full bloom and vibrantly, then what we're going to have to do is cultivate a life that pulls out the weeds, the vilest of weeds, and plants these beautiful seeds that will grow into flowers that will open and be in full bloom, because that's what a vibrant flower looks like. And that's who we all are. If we choose to weed that garden, that's who we all are. If we choose to be in the place of gratitude. Gratitude is everything. It's foundational. Gratitude is opening your heart, opening your mind, and opening your life to such beauty, to such vibrancy, to such gratitude, to such transformation. That's what gratitude does. That's a little hinge. I say it's a big hinge, but it opens all the doors. That's for sure. All right. Gratitude, y'all. Yeehaw. I hope that was helpful. Pinkies up. Peace be with you. I appreciate you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.